All right, good job, guys. We just finished this IHBCU Ivy
We
League
did
College
it.
tour. We did it. It's our last day. We did a great job. I think we have a strong team. It just goes to show that when you have a great team, like we do at the National College Resource Foundation, we can get a lot done. I think one of the takes that I had on this trip was getting to know the students at a bigger level, understanding that we all go through our adversities and struggles, and how at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what background you come from, ethnicity, skin color, religion, we're all human beings at the end of the day, and we all face similar struggles. Like I remember on this trip, like we were going to the Statue of Liberty and being able to experience that for the first time with our students is memorable because it shows us that we have the ability to do a lot of things. I think one of the things that I could take away from this trip that I found very memorable was going to the School of Business at Wharton at UPenn and thinking that, wow, like I have the ability to come here and get my MBA, right? Because right now, like and you guys know I'm studying to get my bachelor's degree in business administration. So I know it was inspirational for the kids and like it was inspirational for me. So I think it was a good trip.
I agree. I was really excited about this trip because just in middle school, I knew about this kind of tour going on, but I didn't think my parents could afford something like that. This was like $2,000, and which was
Mine
like
was too.
a lot. It still is a lot, but it was really exciting for me because I thought, like, man, like these kids get to go on this trip, like they get to learn about all this stuff. Like I'm super excited for them.
Oh yeah,
And I was excited for me too. I was like, I want to go see, like I already graduated from, like with my degree in English, but like I was excited to go see about all the other universities and get to know the kids, kind of see like where they are at in life and their mindset, and kind of see if I could inspire or just learn from them. I was really excited about that.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that. My take with this was when we started this trip, kids didn't know what like FAFSA was. Students
Yeah.
didn't know the things that they could study at colleges and universities. They didn't know that there was resources out there to help them through our company. So being able to establish that and having students have a broader understanding of their abilities and capabilities when it comes to colleges and universities and things that they could study for. Like we got a couple of students talking about they want to go to Norfolk, they want to go to Morgan just because they toured the campus and they see people that look like them, that represent their beliefs on campus. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, it's also like for me, I didn't get this information as I was younger because my parents only went to elementary and then they dropped out. So as a first gen student, it's kind of crazy that I wish I knew all of these things when I was going to college, because I had to like apply to scholarships and I had to get a job and then I had to pay for school, and I didn't know that you can go out of state and not pay like so much money or get a full ride by having good grades and all of these other opportunities that they don't really tell you in high school, because every high school is different. So I think like it was very interesting to get to know that there's all these opportunities like that they can get, and now you can like take it with you wherever you go, because you get to help everybody else now because you learn all of these things.
My thing with this trip is I want to see how it develops like forward and how we pave the way forward, because I like how the students didn't know each other. We brought like
Yeah.
a good amount of students on this trip. Like some of them didn't even know each other. They were talking about how they didn't see each other on campus. How is it that they're seniors and they haven't even met each other?
Yeah.
And now they're walking away like they're best friends, and you know what I'm saying? So I love the relationship building, how they feel like they have a place where they can belong, where they were just having fun. And like even like we did colleges and universities, but even just going to a bodega and the kids saying, let me get a chopped cheese on the roll, you know what I'm saying?
They learned a lot, and I think that like just traveling to places, and it kind of gets them more cultured, and it gets them to start thinking about like, hey, I can actually live outside of this community and I can come back to it, like I can go places now. Like I know they're a little more aware of what to expect, and I think that's super important for people to know, because otherwise you're going to stay in that same spot, or you're going to be afraid to get out there. And that has a lot to do with like going out there, applying for different schools, I really love that aspect of it.
And looking for an opportunity, because sometimes we're the first ones to tell ourselves we can't do something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I feel like the 13 chaperones we brought along, and we were just able to talk to the kids and tell them, no, anything that you want to do, you're capable of doing it, because if somebody was able to do it, what makes you the exception? You know what I'm saying? And I think like taking these kids to the variety of the schools, watching them be engaged, asking questions. It was cool too, because we were able to take the kids to the Universal Circus and have them meet the only black owner of the only black owned circus. You feel me? And just do activities along the way. We went to the African American Museum, right? And the kids were talking about like, wow, like this is something I've never seen before, something that represents who you are as a culture, right? And then we called Yo-Yo, and then we were able to talk to her when they were at the exhibit. And it was good stuff. Like, I think the kids learned a lot, and I feel like now that they're out of their surroundings and see what the world has to offer, they're gonna go out and get it, and they're not gonna be afraid, because now they have people to support them. They have people that are gonna guide them along the way. I know I'm gonna help some kids with FAFSA applications, because they already asked me, applying to colleges.
See, and not only that, like they didn't just make friends here, we made friends.
Yeah.
Like we all have different personalities, and it's crazy how like the little bit that you know and somebody else knows, like you learn from them, and it's just like, oh wow, like I didn't even know this. And then you go, like the kids like you, and then now they're not just closed off. It's more like they can come to you with whatever it is that they need. And this is great, because now they get more opportunities, like they get more things for them to know and be aware of now that they're going back. And even though like we took them to a lot of different states, and like it was a lot of diversity, and it was a lot of like stuff that we didn't actually see back home, some of the kids are like, yay, like I want to come here, like I want to come to the school, I want to dorm here, everything. And then some of the kids are like, I'm so ready to go home.
But it was cool too, because
And
remember when we
it's
went to the White House and
interesting.
Zeno was talking to like Secret Service, and he was like, what do you need to apply? And then
Yeah.
he was over here taking pictures with NYPD,
Yeah.
talking about like, what do I need to apply?
Yeah.
And he wanted to be a paleontologist at first, and now he's showing interest in criminology, right?
That's funny how that happens. So like, I mean, like you're growing up and you think that you want to do this, and you can want to do many different things, but once you're there and you're experiencing like all of that, and you're being exposed to like more security guards, the NYPD, like he was really actually going up to them like, oh,
And talking to them.
yeah,
like,
and we can see that they're interested in that, and that's where we come in and we can guide them like, hey, I feel like you kind of like to do that, like you want to try that out, or check out some programs and stuff like that. I think that's really awesome.
Or we have like student athletes, right? And they're like, oh, I'm gonna make it to the league, I'm gonna go D1, I'm gonna do this, right? And even like preparing them to be like well-rounded individuals. Because I was talking to Kelsey, and he was all like, oh, well, I'm gonna get my check and I'm gonna make $1 million. I'm like, but what do you do with that $1 million once you get it, right? What do you know about wealth distribution? What do you know about investments, assets? And it was a conversation nobody ever had with them, right? Once you get there, what do? You see what I'm saying? And the kids were like, yeah, but if I get a degree, I'm not going to be able to get a job. We have internships and careers where we have partnerships with people that we could help them get a job, internships, and all this. And I think the benefit of it is that we all went through the system of education, where I'm about to graduate, you guys already graduated, you know what I'm saying? And we could help these kids and really create a pipeline where we help them be successful from high school till after college.
Right.
And I think that's like a positive output, because they never feel like they're going to be alone.
Right. I think also it's so much different, actually having them experience everything and go through it with us, as opposed to them just reading about it. Because they're going to be told so many things like, oh, you need to do this, this, and that. And first of all, that can be really overwhelming, especially like when you're having to like, be introduced to all these new things. But because we were doing it day by day, we were talking about different things, and they were, talking about like financial aid at different schools. They were learning how financial aid works, right? Not just reading about it, but they were like seeing how it works at this school, this school, this school. What
different scholarships they had, like the agricultural scholarships they had at Norfolk. Like there's many different resources for them. So I feel like as long as they know they have a support system, they have people looking out for them, and they have us at the end of the day as like NCRF, because what they don't understand yet on this trip, like, yeah, we came on the trip, but we have a whole company full of people and resources willing to help out. And then on top of that, like the people that we have partnerships with willing to help out the students. Like we were able to call the vice president of Calm America Charitable Giving, right? And he was speaking to the students. And I just wanted to bring this up because he said something that like made students cry in the weight room. So we were with Leandra, right? And Leandra was saying that when she went to Vegas, that they didn't do anything of this sort. Like the second that you were causing trouble, she was all like, they would kick you out, that she got kicked out of 3 schools. And Ryan said, may my highest point be your low point. And when I tell you, I saw 4 kids just going like this, like wiping the tears of their eye, because it's good to know that as a foundation, we have that foundation of people willing to support, and we all want these students to learn from our mistakes and not have to go through the things we did to empower our community, because at the end of the day, it's just about building bridges and not building walls. The experience of this trip is you understand that like Latin America is broad. Like my first time having mofongo, being with Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Colombians, that's something that you don't really experience in LA. And you understand that even though we speak the same language, our culture is very different, right? I think I'm living like my ancestors' wildest dreams by that saying. My dad, he grew up in Honduras, came to the United States. He only went to school to like up until middle school. I'm in college, about to get my degree. So I'm doing things that my parents wish they could do, taking advantage of like every opportunity I have, knowing that I'm not taking any moment for granted, and trying to give back to my community at the end of the day to empower these kids to know that we come from similar backgrounds and we just want you guys to have a better experience than we did.
Right. And I've always made it like a purpose of mine to give back to the community, because it's given so much to me. And usually it's like Latino people that I look up to. And just like going on this tour, I feel like it's very important for Latino students to understand that they can go to HBCU colleges, because I didn't know that until I went on this trip.
Oh yeah, well I go to HBCU, like, so when I started going to my HBCU, I was a trendsetter, so it was only like 5 Hispanics on campus. And now it's like 30 something. So you're seeing the influx of students come in and understanding that it's not just for one population, it's for anybody willing to seek higher education. It happens to be a historical Black college and university, because we know that at one point in America it was illegal for Africans Americans to obtain an education, right? So I think that the foundation that it's built on is great, but it's also very inclusive and very diverse, and we got that experience going to these other schools.
Breaking the cycle. You gotta break the cycle. It's a huge thing in any community, I guess. But I know from the Latino community, it's always like you're either, if you can't afford college, you're gonna go straight to work. Like university is not an option for a lot of kids, at least in their mindset. So I think that we're opening that door, like, hey, you can go to college, and we want you to go. Like that's, like, you know, it's.
Well, in our communities, we see like there's dudes that go to construction straight out of high school to work with their parents, because there's a lack of education within the community and knowing that there's possibilities out there, right? But I feel like it's embedded in fear, because it's uncertainty, right? And we like the certain and we like the commodity. And once we start breaking out of our shells, that's when we start understanding that there's a whole world out there, and that in this country we have a place, and we represent something, and there's places willing to accept us. Like we were at Morgan. I was thinking about transferring to Morgan. We were at Norfolk. I was thinking about transferring to Norfolk. You were talking about I didn't want to wake up early. What happens when you take that 8 a.m. class at college and you don't want to wake up? Being punctual.
That's
responsibility, fiscal management,
washing their clothes, getting
Mama
their
wasn't
food,
washing it.
like it was a lot of them learning how to be independent.
And then meeting new people, having roommates that they like, they haven't met some of the students, and like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like preparing them for like real life situations.
Yeah, and even getting along with the person. So like, let's say they don't like the person, it's like being able to work with them even though
and
it's
finding
not,
common ground.
Honestly, be ready so you don't have to get ready. Stay ready.
Yes.
I have one question. How was the transition that you can hear from the students from being that childlike teenager to now the young teenager turning into the young adult on this trip? Did you see that transition happen for some
I
students?
did. I definitely saw that transition because for me it was Carlin, and
Yes.
y'all know
I was
Carlin
gonna
is
say-
low key my little baby. Like that's gonna be my little bro for life because Carlin was so immature,
Where they go?
but now he's like. You know, he started branching off from the group because he noticed that things were being a little different over there. He's asking questions. He's talking to people, getting advice and information for his future goals. And seeing where he's at now, from where he came from, it's just like, this is what the movement is. This is what NCRF is
A
about.
movement.
Yeah. And I saw a few students who, when they first got here, they were really like closed, and they sometimes a little bit rude, to be honest. But I think over time they kind of realized like, hey, these people want to help me. There's a community, and they opened up little by little, and I think that's a maturity. That shows a lot of maturity, and vulnerability too.
Because it takes a lot to be vulnerable. And that's just from personal experience. So seeing the kids learn that so quickly in 11 days it's astonishing. And it was truly something to see, like, you really needed to be here.
A lot of students didn't know each other before this trip, even though they went to the same school. And the school is pretty large.
Yeah.
Now that they made this transition and went on this trip, they are going to be different. In what ways do you think your students that you came in contact with will be different? You just be very general, just, you know.
I will say
Positive.
they'll be more understanding and more open-minded, I'm hoping.
Yeah. I think mine would be more aware of the world around them, of how the world actually is and how cruel it can be. And I think that says a lot, just because you go into college and you see all this diversity in some schools, and some of us get culture shock because we're like, oh my god, like this is so different, like I don't know how I'm gonna deal with it. And now they got to be mixed and experience like what it's like to live in a different place than where we're used to living.
Mine would be confident and more mindful in a sense, because, you know, they had to learn that other people have feelings too.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, young people, teenagers don't think that other people have feelings.
Yeah.
So they were able to learn, like, oh, what I said that hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. Or I didn't know that this affected you in that way. I apologize. I didn't mean it like that. And they have more confidence to speak up for themselves. And I saw that a lot now. They were asking questions, speaking up, and letting it be known how they were feeling. And that's what I think they walked away with.
I think they walked away with courage. The first couple schools that we hit up, they were like hesitant to ask questions, and we got to the point where they didn't want to stop asking questions. And I think their self-belief, if they didn't have it, now they do. And I feel like they know they're supported.
I think my students are walking away with more certainty about their value, and just you know, being more confident and trying to open up more, asking more questions, participating more. I feel like I saw that happen a lot.